All right. I remember when I lived in LA. I don't know about you guys because you guys live in Orange County, but I don't know if it's the same at like all the theaters around there. But I'd go to movies in like the LA area, and I want to say half the time, maybe 3/4 of the time, I would see these people standing out front, like handing out flyers, and I figured out, it's like people trying to get you to go to screenings. You guys see that a lot?
Yeah, they have them here. Pretty much any theater I've gone to has some people out wanting you to go see some screenings.
Have you ever do it?
Yeah, I've done it in the past.
Like, what's been your experience with that? I'm curious. I only ever did it once. I did it with Alamo.
Really?
That's
Okay,
what it was
well,
called, right? And that's the only time I saw it. I don't even know if the final version was what I saw. I have a feeling it changed quite a bit, but
usually it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, like my experience with it was that there'd be people handing these things out, and a lot of times you don't know what it's going to be for until you get there, and you usually have to get there pretty early because the screening might start at 7, so it's first come first serve, and they hand those things out all day, so you never know how many people are going to show up. So if you show up like at least an hour, maybe 2 hours early, you can be sure that you're going to be able to get in. And so then whatever movie they show, after that movie, they give you a little survey to fill out about the parts you liked, you didn't like, the actors and all that stuff, so that they can tweak it and make it a better film, hopefully, in the final process. And I remember one film that I got to see ahead of time was Shaun of the Dead. And so that was kind of cool. And I got to see, I don't remember there being too many changes from the initial screening to the finished product. But another one that I saw, there was, let's see, what was the name of that one? What's the one with Ron Burgundy? Anchorman.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry.
So I saw that one, yeah. And then that one did change a few things in there, but it was kind of cool because you got to see it and then you get to see it again in the finished product and compare the two. So I've always enjoyed going to screenings, but they're just hard if you don't have enough time from the time you get off work to make it to the theater to be able to line up to go see one.
Yeah, because it's like I think back and I try to remember, like, why didn't I do it more often? Because I would see it all the time. I'd go to theaters and they were almost always out there. At least, like, I remember I used to go to that AMC in Burbank a lot.
Okay.
And they were almost always there. And then I think back now and I'm like, why didn't I take them up on that? Like, all the time. I only did it the once. I think the Alamo was the only time I did it. But yeah, we don't have anything like that here.
Lord no.
Yeah, no.
It is really time consuming though. Like Bobby says, like you really need to get there like at least an hour and a half, sometimes earlier, before the movie actually starts, because they usually have a sold out crowd, and you sold out loosely in the sense they give away the tickets and people come in to see these, to see the movies, and you just have to make sure that you're there so you can get a spot, because they'll keep filling it in, but they want it all the way full so they can get, as much feedback as possible.
Yeah. I do remember this survey took forever. It wasn't short. And I remember they were pretty anal about the whole cell phone thing, and cameras. But I don't think they took them from anybody. Obviously, I can't imagine them doing that now. I mean, this was even like in 2003 when cell phones were definitely not what they are now. But even then, most cell phones still had like some type of camera on them. Mm-hmm. But even though I'm like, man, I think even when I first moved out there, I had that old school Nokia.
Oh yeah,
yeah, the ones you could get the different faces for. Anyway, yeah. Reminiscing. All right. Anyway, let's move on with the show. Oh, hello and welcome everybody to Flicker Effect number 111. We're recording this episode on Sunday, November 16th, 2014. I'm David Lott. Joining me this week is Bobby Jackson.
How's it going?
And Jascha Wilson.
Hey.
Also this week, we have another guest. My friend Michelle Curry is here. How's it going, Michelle?
Oh, it's going good.
You listen to the show?
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
This is your first podcast, I take it, right?
It is, of any form.
All right. So since this is your first time on, you're going to be talking about movies to give people like a perspective of where you're coming from. What would you say is your taste in film? Do you have specific genres you like or dislike, or anything you particularly love?
It's a pretty wide range, actually. I I guess the best way to kind of give a bearing on what I like is kind of like my top movies that are my favorites, maybe. My favorite would be really all three Indiana Jones, but because I guess I was just born a little later, I like the third one the best.
That's not bad.
But, I really love American Beauty. It's probably my...
See?
See? So,
We had this kind of conversation. Well, we had this conversation for the first time when Angela was on recently about like our favorite films, and I was talking about how at these days I can't really say I have a favorite movie. There's just too many movies I like, and then, but I at some point I mentioned like I kind of used to, and then Angela asked, "Well, what was it?" And it was American Beauty.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome!
I mean, I still love the movie. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think I'd call it like my favorite film.
Right.
Anymore.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but I mean, in the shuffle of my top 10 to kind of describe my likings, it's definitely in that shuffle. But yeah, I mean, I like thinking movies that are going to make me ponder, life and existence as a human being. But, I also like seeing things get shot and blown up. So
you like everything.
I like everything. I love movies. So
not too picky.
I'm not genre specific, I should say.
Right. Well, good to know. All right. Well, we'll just get right into some of the stuff we've seen this week. And we'll start off with a movie at least, now three of us have seen, Birdman. Michelle and I went and saw it together last night. Bobby, you also saw it. Mm-hmm. This is a movie, I meant to look up exactly when the release date was, but it's been out for a few weeks now, I think. I know it's kind of been around your area. I mean, since you live near LA, obviously it's been around there, but it finally made it here to Orlando last week. And it came to our local art house theater last week. And then this weekend, it expanded to like 2 more theaters. But Michelle, since you're our guest, I'm going to ask you first.
Oh, yay.
On the spot.
On the spot.
Awesome.
What did you think of Birdman?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I'm still kind of mixed on it. I can't say that I liked it, and I can't say that I didn't like it. There's a lot to like, though. But at the end, I just kind of felt like, huh. And that's how I left the theater. I said, huh.
But you've still been thinking about it. Like,
I've literally been thinking about it like all day. Like, all day, I'm kind of like, what am I going to say? Like, I don't really even know how I really emotionally feel about it. But I think overall positive, and I did enjoy it. There was a lot of aspects that were really, really good. And yeah, like Michael Keaton's performance was very good. I thought he showed a pretty good range. There was some moments where he would have with other actors that were really intense, and other moments where it was just him, and you can just see his emotions, his pain, his suffering, and just his mental state, his breaking and not breaking, and that was really good. And I also like just the way it was filmed, the overall cinematography of it all, right. I guess. So,
would you say you'd give it you'd go see it again, give it another chance, or are you kind of like one and done?
I don't know. It might be one that I might, trying to figure out what to watch on Netflix and eventually be like, oh yeah, I can watch that again.
Because
sure.
I remember I had that attitude after I saw, and then this is a movie I know you and I disagree on, but Drive. The first time I saw Drive in the theater, I walked out of it like I feel like I sounded like you're saying with Birdman. I was like, I think I liked it, but I really don't know. And I was really funky about it. And then I saw it a second time in the theater because I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I'm like, there's something about that movie. I got to see it again. And then I kind of fell in love with it. And I love Drive. Now, I know you weren't a fan. We don't have to get into a conversation about Drive. But we had a screening.
I almost walked out of your house.
I know.
In the middle of the movie.
I was very hurt. Yeah, anyway. So that's why, I don't know, I was curious if you'd give it another shot or not. But.
Yeah, I think I would. It was definitely more on the positive note for sure, but I mean, I can't say it was an amazing movie that emotionally changed my life. No.
I heard a rumbling out of you, Jascha. You don't like Drive?
Yeah,
I did not like Drive. I thought it was a big, giant waste of my fucking time.
Vindication is mine.
I was pissed off at the entire movie, almost from the minute it started. David, I respect you, and we're friends. And I would actually even, since hearing this, I was like, all right, maybe I need to give it another shot, and I'll watch it. But I was so pissed off when I watched it. Like, by the time I got to the end, I was just furious, and I was just like, I just can't. There's nothing that I really enjoyed. The best part about the movie was, what was the guy with the curly hair that ran his mouth so much? I'm drawing a blank. Give me a second. I know you're gonna. As soon as I say his name, you're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, all right, yeah." He was best part of the movie.
Well, anyway, you can look it up, but
Albert Brooks. That's it.
Oh yeah. God, why was
it was amazing.
That?
It was amazing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was just gonna say something about Drive in response to what you were saying, but
you agree it was horrible?
No? I really dug it. No, what I was gonna say is I kind of had a similar feeling as soon as I saw it. And I don't want to dig too deep into Drive, but that's a movie that was just, I feel like it was so poorly marketed and so mismarketed. That trailer kind of ruined the film. And I don't know if that was the case with you, Jascha, and I know it was the case with a lot of other people, that they went into it expecting one movie, and it was completely not that movie. You pretty much saw every action scene in the trailer. So after the trailer, everything else you saw was very quiet. A lot of people staring at each other.
Well, the way they marketed it wasn't the way that the movie really was.
Yeah, it wasn't at all.
That's what I think threw me off. Like, I felt duped when I walked out of there. I was just like, this is not what I was expecting. Right. And, I don't buy that he's some gigantic badass and all this other stuff. I'm just, I don't.
Yeah. But anyway, back to Birdman. Bobby, what do you think of Birdman? Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, I should say.
Okay. Well, just to throw in my 2 cents, I thought Drive was okay. Didn't think it was great, but I probably maybe need to see it again, like Jascha said. But yeah, Birdman. Okay, so first off, I think I was on the podcast last week and I was talking about how it wasn't showing anywhere locally, and I was pretty upset about that. And no sooner did we get off the podcast did I look and see that, it's playing near me. So I was like, okay, I can't see it tonight, so I'll wait till next week to go see it. So I end up seeing it, and my first thoughts after coming out of the theater was, I don't think this is a movie that people should go see, really. Because I think, honestly, it's the type of movie that it is an art house film for a reason, and it's just not a movie that the general public will be able to enjoy or understand, I think. And when I saw it, I just was enthralled by it and in love with the tracking shots. I mean, it was just continuous throughout the movie. I don't even think they stopped for any other takes, because it was just one thing after another following someone throughout the film, and it was just so well shot. And the acting, I mean, Michael Keaton just completely steals this movie because he's so good and so into the character that he's playing, and it's layered in so many different things of, like, his sort of, you could make a parallel to his real life, even though it's not that, but you could make that parallel. And you could also just say, in general, it's like when people seem to search for acceptance in others' admiration of them, or whatever it is that they look for, they need that sort of ability for someone else to tell them how good they are, or just that self-admiration that you need to feel. And so it was speaking on so many different levels, in terms of even just talking about the difference between being a Hollywood actor and a Broadway actor. And it was just, there was so many different things and elements in play that I just thought, from an artistic standpoint, the movie was really, really good and the performances were great. But from a general audience standpoint, I would say that they would probably be better served if they wanted to see something that's really done well in an artistic format, if they're really into the performance aspect and the acting, it's a great movie to go see. But if you're expecting something of some sort of action or a particular type of straightforward storytelling, you're not going to really get that from this movie. It's something that you need to really appreciate film on a certain sort of level in order to be able to take something away from this film. Otherwise, you're just going to be able to look at it and be like, man, what did I just see? What did I just spend 2 hours of my life watching? Because I don't really understand what all that was about. So I personally enjoyed it a lot and thought, yes, this was like Michael Keaton's standout performance, and he really nailed it.
Yeah, I would say kind of in response to, for general audiences, unlike Drive, I think the trailers for this definitely fit the film way, way, way better. And I would imagine anyone who, say, would see this trailer, and if this isn't their kind of movie, I think the trailer would kind of tell them that. Like, I've talked to a couple people who've seen the trailer, and they're like, oh, that just looks weird. And, people that I wouldn't expect to see this movie. And I would say most people could kind of tell, like, based off the trailer, like, yeah, this is for me or it's not.
Yeah, it's very stylistic.
Yeah.
I mean, throughout. And the gentleman who did the cinematography is the same guy who did the cinematography for Children of Men. And it was shot the same way. So it was it seemed like it was one seamless cut. And they did eventually cut and transition because they had different days in the movie. But it was nice. Like, it was interesting. Like, the first real, like, scene cut was it was a half hour into the movie before it even transitioned to another time frame. Like, it was just one seamless flowing movement of the camera.
Yeah, like you could see the seams if you were really paying attention.
Right, yeah.
But they were well done. Like, they
very
weren't
well done.
Obvious, but if you're looking, you can tell when the camera does a certain thing. Then I'm like, okay, you could have cut here and done an edit.
Yeah, but I think it flowed well. It gave a nice. Yeah, it was neat the way they did it. I really enjoyed that aspect. It was very well done that way.
Yeah, well, I mean, it kind of melds those two worlds that you see in this movie. This is a movie that is kind of a commentary on big budget comic book superhero films, and at the same time on like the pretentious New York City theater scene. And it's a film that kind of takes both of those and puts them together by you're shooting it almost like a play. Where really at least you're making it seem like there's no cuts. It's all one take, or at least that's how it looks. But at the same time, it's a film, and it does have some moments where it's got some, effects in it, and but it's kind of a mixture of both, which is fitting because it's a commentary on both. But I thought it was brilliant. It's definitely one of my favorite movies of the year. I completely agree with you, Bobby. It's definitely not for everybody. But I would imagine most of the movies I really, really love probably aren't for everybody. This definitely fits the bill. And it's just, I love movies that are just different and not the same thing. And I mean, hey, I love a good, comic book, crazy explosion film, action film, just like anybody else, But, I also like seeing something different. This is definitely different. And yeah, the performances are incredible. I mean, not only Michael Keaton, but Emma Stone was great in it. And seeing Zach Galifianakis in this kind of role, like just being totally not himself, was great to see. I don't think I've seen anything else he's done really where he was not kind of a hangover character other than maybe like, what was that movie he did? I'm trying to look it up. It's kind of a funny story. It was a little more serious role, but nothing like this.
The guys in the crazy house?
Yeah, the psychiatric ward.
Yeah.
And
I mean, everyone else is great in it too, especially Edward
Norton.
Yeah, I think
he's great.
Yeah, I think at moments he actually almost kind of stole it in just a few brief moments, and which was interesting because it was very reminiscent of the character he was actually playing. But yeah, I was even surprised at the length of time that he even had on the film itself. I really had no knowledge he was going to have that much screen time even. So that was good. He did good.
And even Naomi Watts and Andrea Riseborough, they had smaller roles but still really good. And an incredible drum score by Antonio Sanchez. It was great. I mean, and it was just jazz drum. And yeah, he stuck in some other like needle drop in it. There was some opera at some point, and I forget what else. But yeah, a really great score. The cinematography was awesome. I was really impressed, and it's like kind of like what you were saying, Bobby, last week about Interstellar, and how you could tell it was a movie you loved and you thought was a really great film because you couldn't stop thinking about it.
Yeah,
like I keep thinking about Birdman, and I would totally go see it again. I don't know if I will, but I would. I'd go see it now, and probably completely. It's not too soon. I really love the movie.
One of the things that just sort of captured me about it is when I was saying how it's so layered. It's really like you were saying in a certain way. It's like it's a movie inside of a play inside of a movie, and it's like all these things going on at once, and trying to really decipher everything that's going on. You almost need to see it a second time just because of the subtleties that are in it. And there's a lot of different things going on. One of my favorite parts was when Michael Keaton is talking to, or sort of actually berating the Broadway critic, and he's like, she's belittling him for being this Hollywood actor that thinks he can come to Broadway,
right,
and do what he thinks he can do, and then he sort of turns it on her and say, you're a nobody. You're just writing about what other people do. You're not doing anything. You're not giving anything as opposed to what we're giving. And all you're doing is just labeling things. There's no real criticism of structure, of the act, of everything else. It's just you're labeling things. It was so good. And it was just like, man, I just like would love to see just that part again. And just some of the other parts with him and Edward Norton going back and forth, and their process of how to be on stage and to sort of give into the part and just sort of let it free flow. It was just so much about, like, I think it's one of those things why I said a general audience may not appreciate it as much, as just because it's sort of like a little inside baseball where you're kind of like, if you've gone to school for film or theater or something, you might appreciate it a little bit more than just the person that's just wanting to watch just a movie.
Right. Though I talked to my parents today. They actually saw it last night. And, I definitely think they have great taste in movies, but, they're definitely not, moviegoers that are kind of coming from a perspective of, we, know film really well, like as in we're educated in it or anything. And they both really liked it. So, that could say something too, but, yeah. So, Birdman, I dug it. I would be shocked if this is not going to be in my top 10. I'm pretty certain it will be there. I think we've said this about another movie before, but if it's not, that means we have some really great films coming in the next month and a half. But I'm pretty sure it'll be probably way up in my top 10. I really liked it. Now, you also got a chance, Bobby, to see Whiplash.
I did.
I don't think that's playing around here anywhere, but how was Whiplash?
Well, you're a band geek, right?
Yeah, I'm a band geek. I majored in music for a bit. Yeah,
I don't say that in a derogatory sense. I just meant like, you were a part of band.
Right.
And I was in band for like 3 years and during junior high. So when I saw Whiplash, man, it sort of brings back all of those feelings of when you're in band, and just that whole part of, you have these different sections, and these people almost hang out outside of that class within their sections, where you might have the trombone section that hangs out with each other, or the drummers, they hang out with each other. But Whiplash was so incredibly dense with this information that you get about this kid who's basically at a school that excels in music in New York, and I think it's called Schaefer. And so he's been there, and so he's already talented enough to be in this school. But there's a hierarchy within the school where there's a specific teacher played by J.K. Simmons that is like, that's the class you want to be in, that because he's the one who will get you to greatness. And Miles Teller plays this kid who's a really talented drummer, but he's looking to excel himself to that next level. And J.K. Simmons, once he sort of takes him under his wing as his protege and sort of mentoring him, but in the worst, hardest way possible. He's like a drill sergeant in a way. You would think that he was in the military because this J.K. Simmons character, he expects perfection. And if you show even the slightest bit underneath that, he will be on you. And I mean on you in the worst kind of way. And it was just like so intense. And you see Miles Teller's struggle as he's like playing this character, as he's trying to get better and becoming this great drummer that he wants to be. And it was so good. I loved this movie a lot. And so, like you just said, I definitely know this will be somewhere in my top 10 because it was just really good. And I think if you have the chance, David, specifically you should go see it because you will enjoy it as well.
It sounds like you liked it more than Birdman.
Yeah, I did. But from a story standpoint, because it was just something that was just so real and intense about it. Whereas Birdman, it's like, it's a certain sort of level. And I think I appreciate that movie more from a technical standpoint, more than from a story standpoint.
Right.
And it's the other way for Whiplash. I appreciate it more from a story standpoint. But it's just really well done. And I think that once you get a chance to see it, whenever you get a chance to see it, you'll be like, yeah, man, you called that one pretty good because it's really that good.
I mean, because that's good to hear because I will say, obviously my reaction to you seeing it is like I'm jealous. But at the same time, it's one of those movies that when I saw the trailer, it's like, and I've heard a lot of buzz out of Sundance, when I think it premiered, and it's one of those movies like, man, I want to see that because I hear it's so good. But then, I also see the trailer and it kind of looks uncomfortable, like kind of dark and messed up. And it's one of those movies that I see the trailer and I think it looks like it's probably a really good movie, but I don't know that I really want to see that because it doesn't look like it will be enjoyable. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, but it sounds like you really liked it. So,
yeah.
I'll be more inclined to see it if I get a chance. It might be playing around here already. I don't know. I don't think it is, but actually, of course, IMDb says it is, but I'll have to check. But Whiplash. I'll check that out. Jascha, you got to see Dumb and Dumber 2.
I did.
How was that?
It was all right. It was just all right. Like what I find is just discouraging is when you go and see a comedy and they show like a lot of the funny parts during the trailers. Like I've stopped watching trailers for Horrible Bosses. I just don't want to pay attention anymore because I'm hoping that they're not showing all the funny parts in the movie because I really want to see it because I really liked the first one. I thought it was hilarious, but it could be that I'm a little bit older now since the first time I saw Dumb and Dumber. And then watching this one, I just kind of like the jokes were like a lot of throwback jokes. It wasn't as funny as I was hoping it would be. It was just really okay. Like that's about as best as I could. I would definitely just say, wait for it to go on cable or Netflix or Redbox it or whatever you do to like watch movies. That's about it. Like, I mean, it's unfortunate because I like the Farrelly brothers. I like Jim Carrey. I definitely like Jeff Daniels. I just wasn't feeling it. I didn't think it was as funny as I thought it was going to be. That bummed me out.
That sucks.
Yeah, it was a little frustrating, but whatever. I mean, some movies are good and some movies, you get disappointed with. I mean, it's not like that hasn't happened before when we talked about movies. I mean,
oh yeah,
I'm not going to bring up anything Godzilla, but I mean, it's just totally fine. It's totally fine, and you just kind of move on,
Well, it sounds like we're pretty okay with that, but did anybody see any good trailers for their movies, like before Dumb and Dumber or Whiplash, that were intriguing?
Well, I mean, it looked like it was, going to be funny. When I first saw the first trailer for Dumb and Dumber, I was like, wow, that looks really funny. Like, I hope it's as funny as I thought the first one was, because I thought the first one was just crazy funny, and I just enjoyed the hell of it. I'll still watch it when it comes on now. Like, if it's on cable or something like that, I'll put it on for background noise or just kind of check it out if I'm not watching anything else. And still laugh. That's so funny. It was like, still laugh at some of the parts. As for Whiplash, I didn't get a chance to see Whiplash, but I've seen the trailer for Whiplash, and I'm like, wow, that looks really intense, and that looks really good. So I want to see it. I just haven't gotten any chance to see it yet.
But I think you mean like any other trailers, like before the movies we saw, like anything else that looked interesting.
Sorry, I misunderstood the question.
I'm sorry. I didn't pose it very well.
I got what you meant. I think Josh is over there just slipping.
Oh, give me Josh.
Wow, thank you, Bobby. Thanks for cracking in there and
under the bus.
I wanted to make our guest feel like she wasn't being like, unheard. I understood it.
I heard her. I just was answering my own question.
Okay.
I made up stuff. Okay, so
he just rolled with it. It's all good.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but we saw, and I'd seen it already once before. We saw the teaser. I guess it's a teaser trailer for Mordecai. And it's interesting because I didn't know there was a full length trailer out for it, which is not what we saw in the movie theater.
Right.
But I've now seen the full length trailer online, and it sounds like it looks like what you're sounding, Bobby, that you're kind of having the same reaction we both did, which is, I remember when I first saw the teaser a couple weeks ago, I think it was, I was just like, what the fuck is this? I don't know. I just think I'm like, really? This looks really ridiculous.
Last night was the first time I saw the teaser for it even. I hadn't even heard of it. And I was like, what the hell is Johnny doing now? But then today I saw that there was a full trailer. And I have to say, after watching the full trailer that gives slightly more backstory to what the movie's actually going to be about, it kind of looks intriguing and in a fun way. Like, it definitely looks like it's just a silly, fun movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you just need something kind of lighthearted, I guess, a good little chuckle for your day, it looks intriguing now that I've seen the longer trailer.
Yeah, I agree. After seeing the longer trailer, again, it still looks kind of stupid, but at least it looks like it looks watchable.
Yes.
The teaser to me looked ridiculous.
Like, I don't know if I'll see it in theaters.
Yeah, I probably still won't see it in theaters.
But I will see it now. Like, I feel like I will see it out of interest to... It now has brought an interest, but that teaser trailer was horrific.
Have either of you guys seen the trailer we're talking about?
Yeah, I saw the teaser, and I'll co-sign on that too. Like, I saw the teaser, and I was just like, wait, what? But then I watched like the full trailer, and I was just, I'm a Johnny Depp fan, so it's like I saw the teaser, and I was like, okay, I'll still give it a shot. But then, like, I was, wasn't entirely sold because the teaser was so bad. But then I watched the full length trailer, and I was like, oh, that actually looks entertaining. Okay, yeah, I'm on board now for sure. Like, I'll watch it.
Bobby, did you see it?
Maybe I didn't see this full length trailer you guys are talking about because I didn't see anything that looked redeeming to me about that movie at all. Yeah. It just doesn't look good, and it looks like something that Mike Myers would have done like 15 years ago or something.
Yep. Definitely.
I just didn't see the appeal in it. And I was like, why? Why? Huh? And it was like, who said yes to this movie and why? I don't know what's he spending his time doing this for. But I don't know. It's just something strange when it comes to Johnny Depp that I haven't seen some of his last few movies just because they just seem so like he's just being quirky for the sake of being quirky in movies as opposed to doing like real acting in movies. Like, look, when was the last time you've seen him take on a dramatic role that was really like meaty and really showed his range as opposed to him dressed up in some sort of makeup or costume and acting sort of strange? I mean, it's been a while.
Well, what was that? The Peter Pan type one he did? What was that called? Finding
Neverland.
Yeah.
That was probably his last.
That was a long time ago.
That was a while ago. And that was good. But yeah, that's probably the last time Johnny Depp was really putting himself out there in any other form other than to be a silly character. I fully agree with you. But check out the longer trailer online. It looks like it's just a fun, entertaining movie.
It just looks better than the teaser.
That teaser trailer. Again,
I don't think either of us are like, oh man, this looks like a good movie now. But it looks definitely way better than the teaser. The teaser just looked ridiculous. And at least when you get the full trailer and you kind of see the story, it's like, okay, I kind of get the vibe they're going for here. He's still kind of a ridiculous character, but I would give this a chance.
It kind of reminded me of like maybe a Wes Anderson movie getting developed for that. I don't know why. but that's what I thought of when I saw
kinda.
it. You know, with the solid colors and the very weird characters, eccentric characters and stuff like that. It just reminded me of like something that Wes Anderson might do.
Right.
I'm not saying that it is, because I'm sure it's very much not, but that was my first, association with seeing the trailer, the teaser, and all that stuff. I was like, oh, this looks like something Wes Anderson might have done.
I was trying to look up the.
But I'm more excited about. Hello, how come we're not talking about Paul Blart Mall Cop 2? How come nobody's brought that up yet?
Is there actually a trailer for that out now?
Oh yeah, there is, and it was on Dumb and Dumber 2. Yeah,
sounds like a good place for it.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah. So there it is. Okay, let's just talk about.
I'm sure that'll do really well too, because we haven't gotten to it yet, but I think Dumb and Dumber turned out pretty well for the box office, and I just would not have guessed it. Honestly, I thought it was not going to do that good. But if the Mall Cop can do great the first time around, and I don't think his popularity has gone down at all, so I think he has a good solid chance at making a good sequel for the people who liked the first one.
Yeah, I would imagine that's a movie I want to say has become more popular, like just being on TV.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm not saying it. Michelle's giving me a funky look. I'm not saying I liked it.
You actually saw it?
I've seen Mall Cop, yeah. Sadly.
No, I've never even seen it.
No,
so.
and I've seen it like, I don't know, it was on TV and I had nothing else to do or something, and it was just like on, and I watched it, and I'm just like, wow, this is really just stupid.
I'll say this. Yeah. Next time you're seeing something that's on and you have nothing else to do, remember all the shows that you're behind on and get caught up
whenever this happened, this was an opportunity when a situation where I didn't have that opportunity. That's all I'll say. That'll be my description of where I watched this. But it wasn't like I could have just gone, hey, I'm going to go to the DVR instead. No, I know what you're saying. But I'd been seeing stuff online this week about the sequel, but I didn't realize there was actually a trailer out, so I haven't seen it. But a longer, I guess, more full-length trailer this week came out for 50 Shades of Grey. Michelle, you're the female in the group here now. I'm curious. Are you excited about this? You gonna?
Okay. Well, I did not read the books, so I really have. So since this is an open discussion, my opinion on the books is this, and I have not read them, but my opinion is this, that if they're trying to make porn more okay for housewives to read, I don't know. I just think if you want to read a porn. Don't get this soft core trying to make it okay for housewives that, I don't know. It's just weird. But anyways, so the movie trailer, the actor who's going to be playing Christian Grey played the sheriff in Once Upon a Time in the season 1. And that is the only redeeming quality from a female standpoint, I think, to see that movie.
It's not the male lead you think you'd want to see, like, in this kind of film.
No, I do. That's the only reason I want to go see it. It's the only redeeming value of me going to see that movie is literally just what's his name, Doran.
I don't even know.
Anyways, yeah. I
know Dakota Johnson's in the movie. That's all I know.
I see. I didn't even pay attention to that much. So, but I'll see it for the guy. Really, as a chick, I just want to go see a hot dude. Nice. But otherwise, I have no real desire to see it outside of that. But I will see it. And again, I didn't read the books, so I have no knowledge really exactly what goes down. But from what I can tell from the first trailer they released to this trailer, I don't feel like they're giving away additional information. It looked like it was really just. It looked like what everybody's heard about of this book series. So it didn't look like it was really shocking. I think you should pretty much know what's happening at this point. You
guys going to go see 50 Shades of Grey? Bobby or Jascha?
Is that a real question? I just told you my money is on Paul Blart too. I'm sold for that.
For the podcast. Come on.
No.
I remember when I went to go see Magic Mike.
God bless you for that.
Oh gosh.
I have no problem seeing movies by myself, but this was the one movie I was just like, I had a friend. I was like, a female friend who was like wanted to see it. I'm like, hey, we should go together because I don't for some reason I just feel weird going to see this movie alone.
Yeah,
but
and you weren't seeing it for the script. That's for sure. Like you weren't seeing it for the storyline that would align.
Magic Mike. Yeah, well,
I mean, that was a rough movie to sit through. Wow.
See, actually, I think we disagree on Magic Mike too because I actually ended up liking it.
Really?
Yeah. But anyway, it was actually Steven Soderbergh.
Yeah.
It was very Soderbergh, which is what I kind of expected.
Don't try and justify it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a chick. I literally just went to go see hot dude stripped down, and then I could have cared less about anything else that happened in that movie, and it was a rough one to finish.
Anyway, Bobby, you gonna see 50 Shades of Grey?
Well, see, I think Michelle, it was proper for you to go to her first because she pretty much said it all. It's if you're a woman and you want to see some hot dude, and that's the perfect movie. Same with Magic Mike, which is why I haven't seen Magic Mike, and which is why I probably won't be seeing 50 Shades of Grey. It just does not have anything for me to appeal to me as a person. It's not for me. I don't think it was meant for me to see. It was meant for the people who like that book, and maybe to bring in an audience that didn't read the book but would probably like it in this film format. So, yeah, I won't criticize it because it's just not going to be something I thought was made for me and for me to see. So if people like it, more power to them, but it's just not on my radar at all.
Well, I will agree. I have no desire to see it. Unlike Magic Mike, at least the Magic Mike for me, going back to that, I was like, hey, I like this director. I'm going to give this a shot. Like, I'm a Soderbergh fan. I will see this. 50 Shades of Grey, no, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, in all fairness, it's like Magic Mike. It looked funny. Like the trailers that I did see, they made me chuckle a little bit. I was like, oh, that looks kind of funny. I wasn't gonna go sit through it by myself. That's for damn sure. Just for the same reason that I won't be going to see an animated, kids movie that I really want to see by myself because that's just weird. Here I am in the middle of the day, gigantic black guy, sitting in this movie, watching a children's movie. And people walking by me is like, hey, how's it going? I'm so excited. I'm so excited for Elsa. Aren't you? Like, no, it's just not happening. It's just not going down like that.
Huh. Yeah, I never thought about that.
Yeah, right. You got to think about shit like that, man. I get looks, man. Really weird looks.
Nice. All right.
Well, that's true because Jascha's tall anyway, so those looks are going to come. But when you are that tall and you're in the theater by yourself, it adds another level of creepiness, I think, to it. Yeah. So I can understand why you wouldn't want to go.
And I'll go see movies by myself too. I have no problem doing that. Like I've done it before, and I'll do it again. But to an extent, like I can't bring myself to be like, Michelle, so it's like I'm 7'1". Okay, so I'm a big guy, and I go into the movie theater. It's like, yes, I'd like one for The Princess and the Frog, please. It's like no.
And you sit in the middle of the theater, dead center.
That's why you buy your tickets ahead of time, man. And, use the kiosk. Come on.
Yeah,
that's half your problem.
That makes it better.
I guess you still have to have the ticket taker look at your ticket. Go, oh, okay, yeah, this theater, right over here. Have fun.
Yeah, then they get on the radio, like, we have a red alert going into the theater right now.
It's code 7. We have a code 7.
So you haven't seen Big Hero 6 yet?
I have not, and I want to see Big Hero 6 too. So,
is that a movie you feel like you'd feel weird seeing it by yourself? I mean, at least it's
not so much that one.
Yeah.
Just because it's a little bit more. I think it's a little bit more boy geared, like action thing. So it's like if I go when I know there aren't like a lot of kids there, like I just don't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable. That's like my thing. It's like it's like I could be just going to see the movie and just because I want to see the movie and I want to see the movie for the podcast. But it's like I don't know. It's just my own personal thing. It's like I don't want anybody to feel weird or uncomfortable, just thinking that, some guy's in here watching this, very children Disney geared movie by himself, with popcorn. And so, it's just my own thing. So it's like, I might take my mom to go see it or maybe my sister or something like that, just kind of have a little buffer there when it's like to make it okay.
Well, before we move on to some news, we'll go over the box office numbers real quick. You kind of alluded to this earlier, Bobby, but yeah, Dumb and Dumber 2 came in at number 1, just over a hair over 38 million. I'm surprised. I would have guessed Big Hero 6 would have repeated, but it did not. It dropped down to number 2, just over 36 million. Interstellar came in at number 3 with just over 29. And then Beyond the Lights. What is Beyond the Lights?
I think that's the one with the chick who's a musician, kind of like Aaliyah, but then she has some dude that comes into her life and apparently just changes it all around.
All right.
Yeah.
It's that like, magic missile every time.
Yeah, I didn't even know what that was. That came in at number 4, just 6.5 million. Gone Girl came in at number 5. The only other new releases were Rosewater, which is pretty limited release. That's Jon Stewart's new movie.
Looks good.
Which looks pretty good. Been hearing good things. Came in down at way down at number 13, but it's only like at 371 screens, so not really fair. And Foxcatcher also came out this weekend, but that's very limited release, like 6 screens. So I thought that was going to be a wider release at first, but I guess not. But yeah.
I'm not surprised about the Dumb and Dumber thing. Like Bobby said, he was surprised, and you sounded like surprised too. But it's like, I mean, I went to go see it for nostalgic reasons too, as well. Like this is the movie that's kind of, these characters are kind of iconic if you want to think of, pop culture. Like they really, I mean, how many people wear orange and blue tuxedos now to proms because of these two guys? See what I'm saying?
I'm not so much surprised it did well. I think I would have expected Big Hero 6 to beat it. Okay. That's all I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising that Big Hero 6 and Interstellar didn't keep the top 2 slots, I think. I mean, the fact that it did well isn't surprising. The fact that it's done better than the other 2 is surprising.
Yeah. But moving on to some news, we had some casting news this week. Daniel Bruhl is going to be in Captain America: Civil War. If you're not familiar with him, he was probably his first claim to fame was his role in Inglourious Basterds. He was also in Ron Howard's Rush. He was really good in that. But he is going to be in Captain America: Civil War. The press release from Marvel didn't really say what his role is going to be. But I mean, I shouldn't say didn't really say. It didn't say at all. But everyone is kind of reporting and kind of guessing that he is going to be some type of villain. Actually, Variety in their write-up said that they have sources kind of saying that, yeah, he'll be a more minor villain in Captain America, and he may actually be the main villain in Doctor Strange. Hey, Bobby, Jascha, you guys are more the experts on this than me. Who would you guess he is going to be in this?
Well, Bobby would probably have a better take as to who he would be. I was actually just stoked to hear that he was going to be in the movie because I think he's a phenomenal actor and an amazing talent. I mean, I've dug everything that I've seen him in, which is basically the 2 movies that you listed, which was, Inglourious Basterds and the one that he did with Ron Howard, Rush. Like, I mean, he was really good in that. So it's like, I'm just excited to see him, enter this world. So it should be fun.
Well, see, I had some sort of idea who I thought he would play until you said that he would be a major villain in Doctor Strange, according to the reports. Yeah, but that throws me off because I can't imagine a character that they share in common with crossover. There probably could be one, but I just don't know who it is off the top of my head. But initially, I speculated that maybe since he's a good actor, they just don't generally cast people for the sake of casting them if they're not going to be used for something important. So I was thinking maybe he would be a replacement for Hugo Weaving as Red Skull, because I know that Hugo Weaving said he wasn't going to come back to do the Red Skull part, even though he's contracted to do it. And if they forced him, he would, but he kind of didn't want to. So I was thinking maybe they would recast and have him as that. But barring that, I was thinking the other character is the Baron Zemo character. That's another one of Captain America's villains that he's faced off against in the past. And he's, again, one of those kind of Nazi party people. He was like a scientist and for the Nazi party. And so got some of the similar kind of attributes that Captain America has, where his aging is slowed down. He has strength, superhuman strength, and the speed, agility kind of thing going on. So he's another formidable villain that he could face off against if you didn't want to use Red Skull. But how he would cross over into Doctor Strange, I have no clue. So that's who I'm thinking. But either way, it has to be someone pretty decent if he's going to be a minor in Captain America and then a major in Doctor Strange, if it happens to be the case.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm that familiar with the Marvel universe, but when I first heard that, I was like, it seems like the Doctor Strange kind of world and Captain America, I don't see how that would mix. Like, you know what I mean? Like, in terms of like a villain showing up in Civil War, but then being like a main villain for Doctor Strange. I don't know. My uneducated point of view was like kind of confused by reading that, but what do I know? So yeah, I mean, I'm excited about Daniel Bruhl though. He's an amazing actor.
Yeah, he's a good actor.
To hear that he got that get, I was like, yeah, that's pretty awesome. Good move on their part.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you think about like the stuff you've been hearing lately about the DC castings and then the Marvel castings, it just makes you realize that at some point in time, they're really going to be trying to go to battle with each other over trying to acquire good actors, because there's just so many to go around. And eventually, everyone that's in Hollywood will probably be in a comic book movie at some point, because there's so many of them coming out and they need to fill these roles. And so, I mean, almost anybody out there has a shot, and they're going to be both companies are going to be trying to go after the same people, essentially. That's why you kind of have like Jared Leto now circling around the Joker, when at first he was circling around Doctor Strange. So they're all kind of going after the same people, and it'll be interesting to see who gets what.
What do you guys think the chances are that the Benedict Cumberbatch thing doesn't play out? Because we haven't heard anything about it. I'm curious.
Yeah, I know. Well, I heard a rumor, and actually not a rumor, more like speculation, that maybe they've already got the deal done, but they're waiting to announce it. And they would announce it sometime around, like if Benedict Cumberbatch gets an Oscar nomination for the Imitation Game. Right. And so that'd be a good time to announce that he'd be in Doctor Strange. So I could see something along those lines. And I still think it's more than likely going to happen, in that they're just waiting to make the announcement for whatever reason.
Right. Gotcha. Well, while we're talking about comic book news, we'll stick on this subject. And it looks like we might have a front runner for the Wonder Woman film. Michelle McLaren, who I'm not really too familiar with. I guess she is mostly known for her work on, and I'm blanking on what show that is. Was it Sons of Anarchy or
no? I think it was Breaking Bad.
Oh, yes, that's right. She was like a co-producer or something on Breaking Bad. But yeah, I guess she was one of a few female directors whose names were being thrown around once we heard that there was going to be an actual standalone Wonder Woman flick. Variety and a bunch of other sites are reporting that it looks like she's the front runner, but of course we don't know anything for sure yet. Yeah, we might have a director for Wonder Woman, which I don't know. The more I hear like actual news like this actually makes me more and more positive about what's going on over at DC. Like, again, when I just heard that whole like slate of movies, I'm just kind of like, okay, well, when we actually see stuff, then I'll kind of care more. But then when I hear things like, okay, we're actually finding a director for this, like, it makes me more and more excited.
Yeah, it just lets you know that things are moving forward and progressing. So hopefully they're getting all their right people in place, and we're going to be in for something special.
Hopefully. In other comic book movie news, and also in the DC universe, there's all over the internet this week that I guess, Batman versus Superman is shooting out in Chicago. And out in the city, of course, so you've got a lot of bystanders that are able to randomly capture some video and some pictures of what's going on. Well, basically, it looks like we are once again going to see the death of Bruce Wayne's parents in a film or TV show. We just most recently saw it in Gotham, the pilot of that. We saw his parents die. I don't know how many times we've seen it now. We saw it in the 1989 Batman. We saw it in Batman Begins. We saw it in Gotham. Any other times other than that?
Well, I think even in the other Batmans, they even did like flashback scenes in it. So it was like it kept getting brought up in every single one, and so it's yeah. So I mean, kind of the talk going around is everyone's like, "Wow, really? We're gonna have to live through this one more time."
Remind me again. How did they die?
They fell in a pool. I don't know.
They fell in a pool.
No,
that'd be a new take.
I mean, we might as well change it up. Fuck it. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, hey, I guess I don't really feel anything about it because I'll just judge it when we see the movie. But I'm not like, oh my God, we have to live through the death again. It does seem odd, especially, where I get that we're starting a new universe with this, Man of Steel starting a new universe storyline. But, like we have an older Batman now. And obviously if we were reliving this in this movie, this is some type of flashback. And maybe they're going to do kind of the Man of Steel thing with the flashbacks, kind of similar to how that played out with learning about his backstory, which we all already knew. But yeah, I don't know. I'll just be curious to see how this would fit in and what is going on in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it could be anything. It could be like, actually it just could be like a 30-second spot that they're filming for the movie of Bruce Wayne telling Clark, what happened, blah, 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 and just saying his story. And then they show it like while he's saying it, blah, 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 an explanation. It could be anything. It's like, I don't know. I heard about the same thing too. And I was like, okay, whatever. Hold off all that until the finished product. You know?
Exactly. You were going to say something, Bobby?
Just that I was not really worried about it. It probably won't be long because they know that everyone's seen it and knows it. So there's no real reason for it to go in depth. A quick flashback, and that's all I ever assumed that it would be. I didn't think it'd be anything major like a long scene. And so I just didn't put too much emphasis on it.
I just really hope with this movie, and I know we've kind of already talked about this a couple times, and I guess this is somewhat spoiler territory, but hey, if you don't know, whatever. I really hope they kind of touch on or cover what, the death of Jason Todd in this movie. If we're going to get into deaths, that's the one rumor I'm very like that, like the whole idea of like in the Batcave, we actually see like a tattered Robert costume, and if they go into that, I'll be pretty excited. I hope they do.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. See, because I would think that he'd be the least person that they'd go into any depth about, because I would think that how can you mention Jason Todd and not mention Dick Grayson?
I'm sure we'll get mentioned about Dick Grayson too. But
okay,
I would imagine. Like I'm just saying, like if the rumor that we heard is true, that indeed we have a Batcave and there's like a tattered Robin costume in the Batcave. Mm-hmm. That what else would that be for? I mean, it wouldn't be for Dick Grayson. He's probably Nightwing now,
but you got to think that maybe they're changing things, and maybe
maybe they are. But
so I mean,
knowing what we know,
getting out of
but knowing what we know, that's what I would speculate. That means,
yeah. I mean, you would assume. I would assume the same, but I mean, they're changing things, and like. If you look at what they've said about Lex Luthor and how his history is, he's changed from the way you know him as in the comic book. I mean, he wasn't this like tech genius type startup company that released some sort of, what was it, like an online company or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Which reminds me, if you don't mind if I switch over to Marvel really quick.
No, of course not.
Did you guys see the news about what Toby Kebbell said for his Dr. Doom's character?
Yeah, that's what I was going where you were already going. I was going to go there next. So
okay.
I heard about it. But I've said on here before, I'm not familiar with Fantastic Four. Unfortunately, my only exposure to Fantastic Four are the two movies we have, and they were not for me. So I know nothing. so to hear that Dr. Doom is getting a big origin change, doesn't really affect me, but I heard about it.
Yeah, well, I don't know. To me, that one's like, of any of the changes that I've heard coming so far of the Fantastic Four and even of Superman v Batman, it's just like, or Batman v Superman, is like, that one bothers me because Doctor Doom, if you don't know, like Doctor Doom in this new Fantastic Four film is supposed to be Victor Domashev instead of Victor Von Doom. And he's supposed to be someone that's, I guess, a programmer, and he's an antisocial programmer. So he on blogging sites, he's known as Doom. But it's like, it makes no mention of him being the ruler of Latveria, his own country, where he's sort of like just the person that everyone in that country looks to for leadership. And that just takes away such a whole part of his history and makes it updated to something current, which to this point now, because of that, and just not just that, but because of that and other changes that they made, I don't even feel like it's a Fantastic Four film anymore. It's just something sort of different using that name. And I'm just going to treat it as such and not try and compare it and think of it as Fantastic Four, because it's simply not. I mean, they've made way too many changes at this point for it to really be anything classically considered Fantastic Four.
Jascha, you're a Fantastic Four fan, right?
Yeah, actually, Bobby said pretty much everything that I agree with. Like, I mean, verbatim. Like, I stopped looking at this as a Fantastic Four movie a while ago. Like, I just can't. Like, they're making so many changes to this, these characters, and Doctor. Then when I saw what they were doing with Doctor Doom, I was just like, you know what, like. What the hell, man? Like, seriously, if you want to change it up, just say we're, taking a little bit from this and we're going to readapt or rechange or, restructure the entire thing. But I really just stopped looking at this like as a Fantastic Four movie. I'm looking forward to the action adventure movie that they're going to have and release, but I'm not looking for a Fantastic Four movie, because as far as I'm concerned, this is is becoming further and further away from a Fantastic Four movie than anything. Because like Bobby said, with the whole Doom thing and his being the leader of Latveria and stuff like that was very much a part of his character and very much a part of who he was, that it's just like, it takes away from that character a lot. And it's kind of a bummer.
Yeah. I mean, again, sorry, go ahead.
No, I fully agree. I mean, I'm a classic old school Marvel chick. Like,
yay.
I'm a Marvel girl.
Yay, yeah.
I mean, DC's all good, but I'm a Marvel girl.
Yeah.
But I mean, I mean, to strip away his cocky dictator-ish leadership personality and make him a little, computer programmer who doesn't talk to people except for on the internet as his screen name, like, you're really cutting the personality that makes Doctor Doom Doctor Doom. So yeah, I fully agree. Just go see it, but don't see it as a Fantastic Four movie. You just need to go see it as, I'm seeing a Marvel movie that's an action thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, I mean, Doom loved being a dictator, loved being a ruler, loved being in the spotlight. Like, he loved everything about that. Like, that was, he's like, this is who I am. You will bow before me. There's nothing about him that was like, I don't really want to be in the spotlight. I don't really want the recognition. I'm going to have this computer to talk through. And so, no, to hell with that.
Yeah.
He was like, get me in the front runner, and I want everybody to see me for who I am, and I should be your leader.
Yeah, he's nobility. So he's going to have that arrogance and that attitude. And you don't get that. Well, not to that level when you just have him as a programmer. It's just not the same.
That's what I said. It's like I've stopped looking at it like a Marvel movie or a Fantastic Four movie, and just said, okay, well, I'll go see it because I'm sure it'll be fun because I like the director, and I'm sure it'll be kind of cool and be neat. But there's no way I'm going to look at this as like a Fantastic Four movie, because they're taking everything away from it that made it a Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, sorry. Go ahead,
I'm sorry. Oh, I was just going to say, did you happen to catch the other little bit of Marvel news that we got this week?
Oh, what?
Yeah, what was that?
James Gunn had an interview where he was talking about Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And he mentioned a couple little aspects about that. And that one, we will see Star-Lord's father, but it won't be the whole central aspect of the story. it won't be like, oh, okay, you spend an hour and a half and you get to see his father, and it's that big sort of confrontation. It's just going to be like, okay, we're going to show you who it is, and then we're going to go from there. But that's not the main aspect of the story. And then he also mentioned that it isn't that Guardians of the Galaxy doesn't have to set up anything for the Avengers,
right.
So it'll still be its own sort of thing. And I thought that was pretty cool because it's good that it can stand alone without having to set up stuff, because if that's been one criticism people have had for some of the Marvel films is that they have to spend time setting up other films instead of being their own thing. And I definitely will be able to appreciate Guardians of the Galaxy 2 more when it just is telling its own story and dealing with their own characters and maybe any of their little backstories to flesh them out a little bit more. But just seeing a thing stand on its own is going to be good for that, I think, for that series. And I guess they said that if anything, it may introduce more cosmic characters and set those characters up, but not necessarily have anything to do with the Avengers themselves.
Yeah, I saw that. One thing I'll mention, one or two of the websites I saw a report on it seemed to take it maybe a step too far. And they were kind of like, oh, well, maybe it almost sounds like maybe we won't even see Guardians of the Galaxy in Infinity War, which I would be surprised if we don't.
Yeah.
And that's not at all what he was saying.
No.
And that some of them were almost like interpreting it like that. And I'm like, no. I mean, yeah, I agree. I like that it doesn't have to kind of be beholden to this bigger picture and, can kind of do its own thing, but I can still see that, yeah, they're going to cross paths. So they'll probably be in Infinity War. It's going to happen. There's no way. So
they can't afford not to at this point. It's they're so big and everybody wants to see it. They're like, okay, look, they've been giving the fans what they want so far. Why would they stop now?
Right. Now I'm curious. I wanted to, especially you, Bobby, because I know you listen to this podcast. I wanted to ask you, jumping back to the DC side of things, I'm curious. I'm going to comment on another podcast here, but over at AMC Movie Talk, they do an after show, an Arrow after show.
Mm-hmm.
And I take it you heard this, the Stephen Amell comments. I was very surprised to hear that. So what happened is, I guess they decided to ask him. I guess he was on one of the recent, the most recent episode, and he was on for an hour, and they ended up asking him his thoughts on the Warner Brothers DC movie announcement and lineup that they came out with. And I was really surprised to hear him kind of talk negatively about it. I actually have a quote here. I'll read this quote. It's, "Oh boy, are we live?" Because he was kind of like, man, I really don't want to talk about this. But he goes on to say, "I thought that the way that Warner Brothers announced the slate of DC movies could have been handled better. And someone like Grant Gustin, who has just launched an icon character like the Flash to record-breaking numbers, should have been given a wider berth than 2 episodes before another actor was announced to play his character." By the way, he did also go on to say that he felt like there was no need for the television feature films to cross over with each other, which was kind of another theme that they kind of touched on. But what do you think about him kind of somewhat attacking the lineup?
I was smiling when he said that.
Yeah, I was too. But it
was cool because it made my respect for him go up even more. Because me and you, when we were at Comic-Con, he narrated most of a panel. He did almost, I don't know, it was almost 2 hours of just
it was a
programming, and he came out to introduce the cast of other shows and to really, you can tell he cares about his show and the shows that they're putting out there, that he's really involved. And so hearing him say that, it was okay, he gets it, and he's not beholden to the people that are his employers, and not necessarily them, because they always have said that the Warner Brothers film side stays pretty separate from the TV side, even though it's still got the Warner Brothers name. But it's it was refreshing to hear him say those things, because it was the truth, and he wasn't just covering for his bosses per se. And so I liked when he said that, and it makes you think that he knows some other things, because he even goes on to say how he did have that conversation with some of the other people, and by the time he came out of that talk, he came away satisfied, but he wouldn't say too much more.
Right. Yeah.
And it was in regards to the fact of, I guess maybe having other people be in those films from the TV side. And that leads still for me to say that if he's thinking that, or if he says he came out of it satisfied, I'm still thinking and leaning towards maybe somewhere down the road they're thinking Crisis, and they'll meld their TV and film worlds as alternate universes of Earths and have them cross over somehow.
Right. That'd be pretty intense. But
Yeah, it would.
yeah, I can't imagine. Yeah, I was shocked to hear it. I guess and like what you're saying, it's not too surprising because you're right that like on the Warner Brothers and DC side, they're definitely the television and movie side are more separated than they are at Marvel. So yeah, I mean, I think he feels more comfortable being able to say things like that because he doesn't really work for the film side. So he's like, hey, even though it's DC and Warner Brothers, it's kind of a whole other ball game. That whole slate, and I'm not a part of it. So yeah, fuck it, I'm gonna go. I'm not a fan of how they did it. So I'm like, wow, that's kind of surprising. I was pretty shocked by that.
Stuck up for Grant Gustin.
You watched any of the Arrow or Flash, Michelle?
Actually, I've been giving the Flash a shot. I've been trying.
I've been trying.
I want to like it. I think it's through no fault of the actual show's own, really. I think it's the CW. It's geared towards an age group that I no longer understand or really kind of, I don't know. They're behind me. So it's.
Watch out what you say about the CW. You're up, Bobby.
Oh, I mean, I have it's not like I hate the CW. It's geared for an age group that I am no longer in. And so in moments of the Flash, it's like, wow, that was really done well. And I like where they're leading here and I like how they're doing that. But there's just these moments of cheesiness that, oh my goodness, it's, I'm like, come on. You guys could have really pushed this the envelope a little more and not gone so cheesy in moments, and I've seen just a few very random episodes of Arrow and I'm like, Arrow doesn't have that many kind of corny moments in the show. It's a darker show, but
yeah.
And the Flash is a lot more lighthearted, and that's how his character is. He's a lot more lighthearted, character as a whole. And again, I don't know a lot about DC, but I know that much, and I know it's supposed to be more fun, and I'm glad that it has that. But yeah, it just has some moments where I'm like, oh, that was definitely not for me.
No, I agree with you 100%, Michelle. I'm not a huge CW fan, and I was worried, but I didn't think Arrow would be as successful as it is because it's on the CW. But then I watched The Flash, and it's like, I actually love it. Like, I think it's great. Like, I mean, especially the special effects. If they can keep that going and, keep the story momentum moving forward and the hints that they have for new characters coming in and stuff like that, that's fine. That being said, I do see what you're saying when it's just like you're watching it and you're just like, oh, don't do the whole love. Oh, God, they're going to talk about the crush.
Yeah, I mean, overall, though, I think they are doing a good job. I think for a television show, they're doing a very good job. I think they're putting the storyline together very well, and they're bringing in these outside characters that all start to kind of merge in little light ways, between Arrow and them, and that's great. And yeah, it's got some real potential. I think it just the CW steps in every now and then. They go, guys, we need it to be a little less this and a little more that, and yeah.
Yeah, I definitely get that.
Yeah, no, I get it too. That's why for so long I didn't even give Arrow a chance.
Yeah.
As much as a DC fan as I am, like, it wasn't until Bobby was like, hey, you got to watch this. I finally was like, all right. And I was like, wow, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you, David. Like, I mean, the reason I started watching Arrow, because I thought it was going to be horrible. And I was like, I have no desire to watch them butcher a comic book that I, read when I was younger and, take everything away from it. And I was like, okay, well, Bobby was like, no, dude, you got to watch this. And then my cousin even was like, oh man, you got to watch the Arrow. You don't watch the Arrow? Like, surprised. Like, I was like, yeah, I don't watch the Arrow. It sounds stupid. It looks stupid. He's like, oh no, people die. And I'm like, what do you mean people die? He's like, oh yeah, man, people die. And I'm
people
like,
die.
okay. It's like, because I had this envision of this teeny bopper, like everybody's in love and this guy's, doing this romanticized version of like being a vigilante. And it's like, I just didn't buy any of it. He's like, oh no, man, people die. Like he kills people. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, all right, I'll give this a shot. And I started watching it and I was like, wow, people do die. This is crazy. And so yeah, I stuck with it and I actually enjoy it. That being said, I'm really behind on it right now, but I do enjoy it.
Yeah, I think and this is a show I've never really seen, but I think the CW realized when they started doing that Supernatural show and it's really taken off, and they realized they can go kind of dark. It's okay. Like that was kind of the first show I think they went, yeah, we can kill people. we can literally slaughter somebody and it's okay. Like it's like the audience will understand because they are in love with these characters and they follow the story and they know the story and they want to see the story develop with the characters. And yeah, I think they're starting to realize that they don't have to pan down their audience. They have to pan down to the youthful audience so much and make it so friendly to them, but they can give some really serious adult context to the situations. And I like that.
In the same breath, and this is totally off subject of like what we're talking about, does anybody else here watch Jane the Virgin?
No. I've not seen it yet. I say yeah.
Yeah, like I watch it. It is absolutely hilarious. I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed.
And that's a CW show.
And it's a CW show. That's why I'm saying, like, because we're talking about the CW and it's risky in certain parts. People die on this show. Like, it is absolutely hilarious. Like, I'll find myself laughing out loud at least once, when I do watch it.
Wow.
I don't know how I got onto this show. And I was like, oh, I'll give this a shot. I think I just had nothing else to do. And I was just like, oh my God, this is actually really funny. And yeah, I'm hooked. Totally want to see what's going to happen next.
And if you want to see people dying on a regular basis on CW, the 100, oh my God, people die on that show. It's insane how many people die. It's like a Lord of the Flies, but just, in a different twist. But it's like almost every week somebody's dying, and not just like ancillary characters. Sometimes it's main characters, and it's kind of crazy. But that, I'm telling you, CW, it's a lot better than it used to be. And that should be their tag slogan too.
Yeah, it seems like they're working on it. I mean, they've got Supernatural, and then they put something like the Vampire Diaries on, and it gets violent, but it's really, really cheesy, and
it is, yeah.
And then they have, what is it, the Originals and Rain.
Oh God, the Originals is excellent,
right? And that's what I'm saying. Like, so I feel like since they've had Supernatural, they've slowly progressed into like, we can really dive into deeper, darker topics, and we can really show a broader range than, hi, we have 90210 things and
Gilmore Girls,
and I like Gilmore Girls, but
everybody is a model on CW.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Well, while we're talking about shows, can I take a moment to talk about a show that I really love, and I'm desperately clinging to hope that it stays on the air. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I've mentioned this before, and my God, is it way better this season than it was in the first season.
Is it not doing well in terms of ratings?
It's not doing great, and I fear for it. But this second season is so solid. And if you look on any of the websites where people review the shows and you look back in the comments, everybody is on the same page as saying this season is just blowing the other season out of the water, and it's just more consistent, and it's found itself, and it's more confident in itself, and it's just a way better show. And the things that are happening currently with what it's leading into, or what it possibly could be leading into, is just so fascinating that it might be the first time that we'll get something that starts in the TV show that leads to the film cinematic versions of the movies. So it's a really good time to jump on board. And if people haven't seen the show at all and kind of want to get a sense of it, even though you might not hear the best of things about it, the first season will be available on Netflix on November 20th. So you can get caught up and then try and get into the second season.
Dave, do you watch that one?
Yeah, no. I've seen it.
Yeah.
I watched like the first 2 episodes of the first season, and then there was that point where they were obviously it was gonna be that crossover tie-in with Captain America Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
So I kind of jumped back in around then and watched like, I want to say 2 or 3 episodes. And that's it.
Yeah, I watched the first season literally up until the last 2 episodes, and then I guess I got a social life at that time, but I mean, I just never got to watch the last 2 episodes of season 1, which is a huge shame. So of course I'm so behind, and by the time I was like, I really need to watch it, then it was off Hulu already, and then now I don't want to jump into season 2, but yeah, I mean, I've heard it's really got some amazing tie-ins with the films, and it's actually going to start bringing up things that the films, it's just going to be amazing. Just all of it is coming together in a great little Marvel Avenger lovely universe. But I mean, I really got to watch those last episodes. So you said November 20th? Is that what you said?
Yeah, November 20th.
Yeah, it's good on Netflix. Maybe I'll try to.
It's good. It's
through the first season and.
Yeah,
we'll see.
You really should. It's good. It's good.
We all know I have a lot to watch.
Yes.
There's something in there that I so badly want to tell David, and it's like it's eating at me. I was like, I want to tell him so bad because I know he'll love it.
Well, even like you just saying I love it, I kind of have a idea of what kind of generally what you're hinting at. So it's making me very interested. I'm like, fuck, now I kind of want to watch this. I'm like, but yeah. And I haven't even watched another show. I was going to ask you if you've watched, Michelle. Like I haven't even seen any more episodes after the first 2, I think, of Gotham.
And I have so many shows. I love my TV shows. It's Gotham is just building on my Hulu account, and I just have episodes stacking up, and I really want to watch it, and I haven't even watched the pilot yet, and I really need to, because it looks good. I remember seeing the trailer and I went, that really has some good potential. I mean, just to see the kind of the backstory of everybody. I mean, they're characters that at least I grew up watching in movies and in reading in comics. I mean, and again, I didn't read a lot of DC, but I did read Batman. That was the one DC comic I said, yes, I'm reading this one as a kid.
Yeah. You've been keeping up with it, Bobby?
Yeah, I have. And I think Jascha has been too, but yeah, you know what? That show is, for me, it's like, it's okay, but I still see the potential in it to getting better. And I think for the most part, it hasn't quite found its tone that it wants to have. And I think a lot of it is the problem that it's having is it's trying to service the world of bringing in all these characters that you know at a time that they shouldn't even be around, really.
Yeah.
And so sometimes the show gets in the way of itself in that way, and sometimes it doesn't. It tells a different kind of story, and I think when it pulls back away from trying to cram and shove all these things down your throat in terms of, oh, look at this tie-in, look at that tie-in, when it's not doing that, then it's in its own thing. It's really kind of good, and it's telling a Jim Gordon story, and then it's also telling a Bruce Wayne story as he's young and beginning to know himself in a different way, and that's, I think, the core of what it should be. When it starts trying to say, oh, look who we're introducing, wink, wink, nod, nod, then it gets kind of like hokey, because you know in your mind, in your head, these characters shouldn't even be around yet anyway. So then it just reminds you of things that are wrong with it, and that's not good. And so you sent me a link to a parody of before. What was it? Before Gotham or Batman?
It starts off as it's just called Gotham Begins.
Yeah.
And then, they keep expanding on that. Gotham Begins, the beginning. Gotham Begin. Like, it's ridiculous. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Because it's so true. It's spot on because, it's just joking about all of the constant references in that show. And that's what we've already kind of complained about that, like, especially with the pilot was overloaded with it. Because they're trying to introduce so many characters and pretty much all of the villains. And I mean, if Michelle or Jascha, if you haven't seen this video yet, you have to watch it. It's pretty funny. But Yeah, it takes it to the ridiculous level of references and going back to before Gotham had even become a city yet. And I thought that was pretty funny.
Are there dinosaurs walking around?
Almost. It's like the very end. It's like a Western, and like these two guys, like, okay, so what's this city going to be called? And you just have to see it. For those listening, I could put a link up in the show notes, but I want to say it's on a YouTube channel called, I think it was The Warp Zone. And the guy doing the narration actually sounded like the same guy who does a lot of the Honest Trailers.
It sounded exactly like him.
I think it's him, but it wasn't their webs. It wasn't that channel though. I think it's called The Warp Zone, which may be affiliated with them. I don't know. Maybe. But it was pretty funny. You been keeping up with Gotham, Jascha?
I have not.
Okay.
It's actually one of the shows that I was cool with just kind of letting that slide to the wayside, and I'll get back to it later.
Yeah, and it's definitely not of the mini shows I need to catch up on. It's not a big priority for me because I'm still so kind of after the first 2 episodes, I'm still so skeptical on it.
Yeah,
for the reasons we've already said, you know.
Yeah, I think I watched 3 or 4 maybe episodes, and I was just like, still not selling me. Not going to waste my time on this right now. I have other shows I need to watch, so I just kind of moved along.
Had to move on.
Yeah.
Oh well, but I think Gotham's doing pretty well. I never really get a chance to look at television ratings numbers. It sounds like maybe Bobby, you kind of look at that stuff more than me.
I do tend to look at it quite a bit, and for the most part, I'd say Gotham is doing pretty well. Not like gangbusters or anything, but it's doing well enough. It's listed as I think one of the 5 new shows that are doing well of this season. That being one, and How to Get Away with Murder is another one, and there's Blackish is another, and then there's a couple other ones that are considered to be doing well this season.
We've had some cancellations this week, though. I was surprised. I don't watch it on a regular basis, but I've seen episodes, and I actually kind of like The Millers.
It did
CBS.
get canceled.
Yeah, and that got canceled, and I thought that was actually doing all right, but I guess it wasn't doing as well as I thought. And it seemed to be everything I was reading was kind of taking a more surprised kind of reaction to that cancellation. But other shows I think I remember seeing Selfie got canceled at ABC. I wasn't too shocked about that. Mm-hmm. But I feel like there were some other cancellations this week.
There was something Manhattan.
That was the other that love story on ABC too. Manhattan Love Story, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
So ABC's getting hit, with all the cancellations.
Yeah.
The show with not Katherine Heigl, with
State of Affairs.
No.
Oh wait, what?
No, there's another show that was doing well. That's on CBS. It's with the Catherine McPhee.
Scorpion.
Scorpion. Yeah, that's another.
Is
one
that doing well?
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
It's pretty good.
Just the first episode.
So you've been watching it, Michelle?
I have. I wouldn't say religiously. I think I've missed an episode, but I don't know. That first episode was slow. It was slow to watch, but it had some really good underlying notes to it, and so it interested me enough to see other episodes. Mm-hmm. And the more I watch it, the more I am actually interested in it. They really are starting to get into the characters and their backstories a little bit. You're getting just little pieces here and there. So just a full we're going to spend this episode on this one sole person. You're getting bits and pieces here and there. So it's really kind of nice to see the puzzle slowly getting put together for each person. I don't know. I like it. It's taking, geeky awesomeness and then making it a little more realistic, whereas, The Big Bang went comedic with it, which is great. But to see people doing a job that really highlights their unique knowledge and individualism as a whole, it's interesting. It's interesting to see the challenges that get put before them and how they work together when these people really are introverts and shouldn't work together at all.
Right. So
I like it. I say give it a shot. I mean, it definitely took more than just the first episode, though.
Yeah, I don't know. Every time I see a commercial for it, it looks something about it. I'm like, it just looks kind of lame. But hey, if you're saying it's good, I'll give it a chance.
You gotta, I don't know. It takes time. It just really was slow. The first episode was slow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It just looks like another variation of basically the A-Team.
Yeah.
To me.
Okay.
It definitely falls into a formula type of those types of shows
a
where
procedural kind of
procedural. It has that sort of feel about it where there's this case that no one else can solve, but you get these group of people together that they'll solve it at the 55-hour mark and everything will save the day kind of thing. It has that sort of feel to it, but I don't know. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but you can just sort of see that it has that rhythm and beat to it, I think.
Yeah, it reminds me of like Leverage or the A-Team or any one of those, let's all get these people together and, basically let's solve this problem. Doesn't mean that I don't think it's probably not good. Like, I'm sure it looks good. Like, I saw a little clip of it and I was like, oh, what's this? And I was like, oh, it's that Scorpion thing. Okay, I'll probably check that out, eventually.
It definitely is the formula that you're talking about for sure. It's definitely, here's the problem, but then there's always the backlying problem that they have within the group or one of the characters is having. So they're also solving that issue.
The B story.
Right. They're solving that issue during that time frame too. And that's what is really interesting. Like the problem that they're solving for that day, or that weekend that occurs over the 50-minute time frame, that's okay, whatever. But I think the characters are kind of making it. So I don't know. So it's also on at a really, really bad day and time too. I think it's just kind of, they just threw it in there in the week.
That's kind of like how House was for me. It was like, I didn't care as much about the patient and the story of that week of their illness. I more cared about the B story with the characters and what they were going through or what House was going through at that particular point. But yeah, it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you reminded me about I don't know, was it last week or is it this coming week that State of Affairs is finally premiering on NBC?
Yeah, it's going to be this week. It'll be on.
And I don't know about you guys, but God, do I think it looks bad. Like, it just, Katherine Heigl just doesn't look right in that role. I don't have a problem with her. She's fine, but I just don't buy it at all. And it just looks ridiculous, actually, to me.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
Well, what network is that one running on?
NBC.
That one's on NBC, and then I feel like it's trying to compete with this other show
on CBS.
And
Secretary of State.
Exactly, and I feel like that's what they're just trying to. They're just trying to find some competition for that one. Is what I really feel like they're just doing.
Yeah.
And not that I've watched the other one either, so I can't give any judgment on that. Yay or nay.
I haven't seen that either.
So, but
I watched the first episode.
Yeah, it's good.
Haven't watched it since.
There you go.
There you have it.
There it is.
There was nothing in there that was interesting.
The sad thing is, it wasn't bad. It was just kind of like, I don't really need to watch this.
That's the thing. I think Jascha just sort of hit on it. There's so many really good shows that you don't have enough room for shows that are just okay.
Right.
It needs to be stellar to where you can't wait till it comes on that week and you're hitting your DVR as soon as possible to try and check it out. So you're not on that level, then you're going to get sort of lost in the shuffle because there's just not enough time to watch everything. And if there's a lot of really good shows on, then shows that are just okay or sort of time fillers, they're just not going to have time to fill with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're almost running out of time, but there was one more thing I wanted to touch on before we left, and that is Christopher Nolan. He finally broke his silence on the Interstellar sound issue. He spoke to The Hollywood Reporter about it. I'll put a link up to their article in the show notes if you want to read more of exactly what he said. Basically, he's saying, that's how I mixed it, and that's how I wanted it. It sounds like he kind of is taking the approach, his standpoint is it's an experimental film, and he kind of wanted to do some different things and, approach certain scenes with sound in a different way. Like, for instance, he talked about that scene, and I'm not going to go into any spoilers. I know, Michelle, you haven't even seen the movie yet. But, there's that scene where he's driving through that crop field, chasing that drone. And, Christopher Nolan talks about how he actually did that and how, loud and the kind of experience of driving through corn. And he wanted to kind of mimic that with how loud all that sound design was. And basically, that's, what he said. And the one thing I was curious about, and finally he did comment on it, though, was that one scene we spoke about last week. And that was this kind of pivotal scene where there's some information that Michael Caine tells Jessica Chastain's character. And to me, I still was like, I'm reading this article and I'm like, yeah, I get what you're saying. But with that scene, what? Like, why would you still make that somewhat incomprehensible? Like,
Yeah.
And I'll actually read that. I have the quote for his reaction to that. And he said, quote, the creative intent there is to be truthful to the situation. An elderly man dying and saying something somewhat unexpected. We are following the emotional state of Jessica's character. She starts to understand what he's been saying. Information is communicated in various different ways over the next few scenes. That's the way I like to work. I don't like to hang everything on one particular line. I like to follow the experience of the character. End quote. I still don't really know what to take away from that. But,
yeah. When I heard that too, I was like, that doesn't sound like it's really an explanation.
I kind of think I see what he means. And hey, I loved his movie. I think it's a great movie. But I still, in terms of that, I'm not sure I understand his explanation. I get it with the other stuff, but that one, I'm like, what? Mm-hmm. But anyway. But yeah, with
here's some news I thought. I really quick before I got it down. Here's some news that I thought we were going to touch on. But did you guys hear about the cat? Well, we talked about the casting of the Bond villain.
Yeah, Christoph Waltz.
I'm super excited about that.
He's Christoph Waltz is going to be in Bond 24. Of course, we don't know the name yet. I think it's still kind of speculation that he's going to be a villain, but he's going to be a villain. I don't think they officially said it's a villain. I think also Dave Bautista is still going to be a villain in the film as well, right?
Yeah, like a secondary villain,
right,
or a henchman of
a henchman,
the villain.
Right? Which that's going to be badass.
It just sounds amazing.
Cool. Oh my god, I can't wait. And Sam Mendes back directing it, and
God. Yeah.
Like I'm so excited just thinking about it. Like it's just like, oh yeah, let's do this.
Yes.
I'm ready to watch that. Like it just sounds so fantastic.
Oh, I know. So yeah, I think they start shooting next month. I don't know I don't know when that movie's due to come out. I know we saw a date, but I want to say it's like November next year.
Yeah, November 2015 next year.
Damn, that's
Happy Thanksgiving.
I can't believe I'm going to get that before Batman versus Superman.
I know.
Batman versus Superman is never coming out.
No.
Oh my god, it's so far away.
It is. It's way too far away.
Anyway, all right.
It better be awesome.
Yeah, it better be.
Okay, wait. One more last casting news, and we don't really have to discuss it, but I'm just want to put it out there that one of my favorite actors, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, has been cast to play Edward Snowden in a movie.
Really?
So that should be interesting because he always brings it when he's in any film. So can't wait to see what that turns out to be.
Who's directing that? Do you know?
Oliver Stone.
Oh.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, this just got interesting.
All right.
Nice. Very nice.
Good to know. All right. That's interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah. All right. But yeah, with that, we got to get out of here. As usual, to anyone listening, we'd love to know what you thought of the show. If you have any questions for us, also, you can reach us at feedback@flickereffect.com. You can also find us on Google+, Twitter, Facebook. You can find links to those accounts on our website. Also, if YouTube is your thing, you can find YouTube versions of these episodes on our YouTube page. That's at youtube.com/Flicker Effect. I'm David Lott.
I'm Bobby Jackson.
I'm Jascha Wilson.
And I'm Michelle Curry.
Thanks for joining us, Michelle. It's nice having you.
Thank you, gentlemen, for having me today. That's very nice of you.
Hopefully you'll come back.
Yay.
Yay.
Another Marvel.
Sorry, Dave.
Yeah. It's all right. I'll just sit here alone in the corner, wishing for a good DC universe.
You keep hope alive, buddy. You keep hope alive.
I am. I think it might still happen, but anyway. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.